I'm so excited to be back doing another video, and this time I am doing the Nintendo tag. I am a huge video game nerd besides, reading and all that. Video games is kind of my other big thing. I work at a video game store, I play video games, it's pretty much kind of what I do in my free time, so I saw this tag and it's pretty much made for me, so I figured I had to do it. I'm wearing I got my little Zelda pin going on right here, Majora's Mask, I got it, so I figured wearing that, and you can't see but I have Zelda socks on as well, so I'm really representing Nintendo going on right now. I don't have a huge fancy shirt, but the subtleties work just as well, right? So, question 1 is NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, and the question is a classic novel that you want to read. The one that I think I would pick would definitely be Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I actually just watched the movie. I have never read it. I've never seen the movie before. I know, what a sin. And Erica probably wanted to kill me because Pride and Prejudice is probably one of her favorite books and favorite movies. She's mentioned it in the videos before. And I have never watched it. It's not that I have never wanted to, it's just something that I've always been meaning to and I just never have. But I finally watched it and I loved it. So of course now I really want to read the book, so I'm probably going to steal Erica's cool copy of it and read that, so that will happen probably sometime pretty soon. The next question is SNES, the Super Nintendo, and it's a sequel that you liked more than the first. One, I think I'm going to have to go with The Scorched Trials by James Dashner. So I'm not saying that I didn't love Maze Runner. I loved Maze Runner so much. I thought it was so interesting and it really hooked me into the series, clearly because I went and I bought all the rest of them and I read them quite rapidly. Probably within a month I read all 3 of them. But there was just something about Scorched Trials that I kind of just liked that much more than the other one. My favorite character, Brenda, who's my favorite character in the entire series, was introduced during this book, and it kind of just, I feel like it kind of gave that new level of all these new characters in a new situation that I just liked that much more. The next system will be Nintendo 64, which is a gaming system that completely revolutionized, everything about it. It was, the first game that had more 3D effects to it than kind of just like the scroller type kind of Mario ones that everyone thinks about. So the question for it is a book that revolutionized the way you thought about the world. I have 2 answers to this question, one of them being the very cliche answer of Harry Potter, and the other one being A Series of Unfortunate Events. Those 2 books for me were the ones that kind of introduced me into the world of reading, the ones that really got me hooked into a series and kind of wanted to continue to read them day after day. To this day, they both inspire me in different ways. Harry Potter, when I think about it, is very much my childhood. I remember getting all the books and going to the movie premieres and all that, where, Series of Unfortunate Events was kind of that creepy, amazing book series that I thought was so different and I loved it, and I would read those so quick back to back. I would finish one and I would immediately want the next one. I think both of those books maybe haven't revolutionized the way I think about the world, but the way I thought about reading and the way I got into reading, and I think that's very important to me. And so I think those 2 books are kind of that classic example for me of what I love. Next quest system is Gamecube. It's a popular book that didn't go over quite well with you. First off, I have to say, I loved Gamecube. I didn't have one myself, but my friend did, and I went over to her house almost every single day to play Super Smash Brothers. Kirby was my #1 player. I played with him all the time. Kirby or Peach, those are my main 2 ones that if I wasn't playing with them, I wouldn't play. I struggled really hard trying to think of a book that kind of fit into this category. For the most part, if I'm reading a book and I don't like it, I don't tend to finish it. It's the way I am. I just lose interest and I put it down and then I forget about it and I just don't read it again. So I was trying to think of one that I finished all the way through that I didn't maybe like as much as my friends and everyone else liked. I kind of came to the conclusion of My Sister's Keeper by Jodi Picoult. Not saying that I don't think it's an amazing book, and it's a book that clearly so many people love. It's just, for me, when I remember reading it, I wasn't as enthralled with it as everyone else was. I wasn't as inspired, but at the end of it, I kind of was just like, okay, that was a good book. I mean, I got sad, I cried, obviously, the ending is, really sad, but it didn't, have as much of an impact on me as my friends did, so I guess that kind of works as a book, so I'll go with that. And the next system is Wii, which is one that I did get and I loved so much. I played that thing all the time. Literally, I got my parents into playing it with me. I made everyone play with me. I played Zelda on that. I love the sports game. That was like, I was so good at that game. I was unbelievable at bowling and tennis, like unbelievable at those two. So my answer for Wii will have to be the City of Bones, or, you know, just the whole entire Mortal Instruments series in general. I just got into this series. It's something I've wanted to read for a while. You know, I kept seeing it in the bookstore, and I just never actually kind of got my hands on it and never read it. But finally this year I'm really starting to get into it, and I have to say I love it so much. I have read this one, and then immediately after read the next one, and then I bought the next one. I'm just starting to get into a cycle, and I can't wait to start the next series, The Clockwork Princess, The Clockwork Prince, that series. I heard that one's amazing, and I'm really excited for it. I watched the movie. I'm really excited for the TV show. It's just, I'm kind of feel like I'm starting to get into this whole entire fandom of the Mortal Instruments, and I'm really excited, so I without a doubt, it has to be the City of Bones series. The next one is Nintendo Power. The question is a favorite graphic novel or one that you want to read. I have a lot of graphic novels that I really enjoyed, a lot of comic books, so I figured I would do one that I'm excited to read, and it's one that actually I just got. And that would be the American Vampire series. I just got this actually literally yesterday, and I've read the first couple pages of it, and I already can tell how much I'm going to like it. So the story is written by Scott Snyder and Stephen King, and the artwork is done by Raphael Albuquerque. So I don't know too much about the series because, like I said, I just started, but I know from what I've heard, it's kind of the American take on vampires, and it follows this girl who is an actress in the 1920s, and it kind of follows her through the centuries, like the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, etc. I'm really excited for it. It seems really interesting, very cool. The artwork is really, really beautiful in it. It's very colorful. It's very interesting. It's definitely not for a younger audience, so if you are younger and you don't like intense blood and I think some like, you know, sexual content, I wouldn't suggest doing it. I'm really excited because I feel like this is kind of the perfect segue into going into October, which is my month to read all books creepy and scary and horror because of Halloween, which is my absolute favorite holiday. I'm going to be doing kind of a Halloween book tag, Halloween book vibe, I don't know, Halloweenish something, and I'm sure this is probably going to make it on there. So I will talk more about this in depth later once I fully read it. It's so hot in my room. I can't have the AC on because it's just so damn loud. The next section, we're going to be getting into famous Nintendo characters. The first one is Super Mario, and the question based off of that is a character you would like to squish like a Goomba. This one was very easy. It was literally the first person I thought of when I thought of this question, and that would be Joffrey from Game of Thrones. I know, shocker, everyone hates him. I know he's kind of just like a little kid and everything, but god damn, I want to squish him. I hate him literally so much. He really is an awful, 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 awful person. So I would be glad to squish him like a Goomba and just save everyone the pain that he causes to literally every single person and basically the entire world of Westeros. The next character is Zelda, and the question based off that is a new fantasy that you see as being a classic. For this one, it's not 100% totally new, but, you know, it's newer. I would have to go with Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. So I already talked about how much I'm literally in love with this in my other book haul, but I felt like it needed to be in this tag because it is perfect. I love this book. Now I know a lot of people kind of consider this more historical fiction than fantasy, but to me it still kind of has that fantasy vibe with the whole entire idea of time travel, and it just kind of has this fantastical sort of air to it to me that I thought it fits into the fantasy genre in my take. To me, this book really is a classic already, kind of by the following it has and the amazing fans that this book has, but I really felt like for me this is definitely a newer fantasy that is going to be a classic in the future, I know that. The next character is Samas-Aran, which is a sci-fi series that you either have read or want to read, and I felt like this book was pretty much perfect for this tag, and it's one that I want to read, I haven't read yet, and that is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. It's a video game book, and a video game tag, so I kind of had to do it. This book literally seems so interesting. It feeds my book nerd and my video game nerd side, and I'm so excited for the two of them to kind of come together in one culminating book. The next Nintendo thing would be Pokemon, and the question is book editions that you want to collect, and that would have to be the Barnes & Noble's Classic Edition, I think that's what it's called. Those book editions are so gorgeous. I do really want to collect them all, and I just want to have a whole bookshelf of them and sit in front of it and feel like I'm in an old-fashioned library, just because of the feel of them and the kind of aesthetically look of them is so old, like old looking to me, I guess you would say, and it's just so classic looking, and I am in love with them. They're so gorgeous. The next character is Donkey Kong, and the question is a book with original characters. I thought of this book right away when I read this question, and that would have to be The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. Erica and I plan on doing a big review of this together, so I'm not going to talk quite so much about this because you're going to get a whole other video of this, but I'll just let you know these characters are insane in the best way possible, but also the worst. Last but certainly not least is this Nintendo Fandom, and it is a favorite Nintendo game or one that you want to play. I am going to have to go with the entire Zelda franchise, basically. I sort of fell out of Nintendo for a while and kind of went into PlayStation and Xbox, and that's kind of where a lot of my focus was, until recently I kind of got back into it. Well, working at a video game store certainly helped me. I got my new 3DS and I love it so much, and I have to say one of the big reasons why I got back into it was Zelda. I hope you liked all the books that I picked. I tried to kind of get a variety of different books from different genres and everything to talk about. Like I said, I'm sure I'll do different reviews on some of the other books once I finish the ones like Ready Player One, American Vampire, and me and Erica are going to do the Girl on the Train one. So I'm very excited to be making those. I hope you enjoyed, and until me or Erica's next video, I will see you next time. Bye!